What's up, guys? Artem MMA Analysis here, the number one news source for Dana White's Contender Series 2022 on YouTube, in my opinion. And I'm going to be going over, so far, what is the entire roster that we know so far on Dana White's Contender Series 2022. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 fighters so far on the roster that I know about. 2 matchups that we know about already, and 2 matchups that I have already made videos on. But before we get into it, I'm going to shout out my sources. Sean Bitter, from Cage Side Press. He seems to kind of know a lot about Dana White's Contender Series. But I also kind of have another source from the Chinese MMA game MMA ecosystem on Instagram as well. He's kind of helped me out. So what I've got is I've got 10 guaranteed that we know for a fact is on Dana White's Contender Series, but I've also got 3 that I believe will be making a return that fought last year, and we'll see again. But first confirmed fighter, Stephen Rossig, 8-1, fighting out of Australia. Second confirmed fighter, Clayton Carpenter, 5-0, fighting out of America. Also, this is a matchup, Clayton Carpenter versus Steve Rossig. I'll come back to this later. Kyo Machado in the heavyweight division, 6-1, and he will be fighting Paulo Henato Jr, who is 10-1 on Dana White's Contender Series. Now, that's the 2 matchups that we know of for sure. Now, moving on, I've just got the individual fighters that we know have signed contracts for Dana White's Contender Series this year. Dominic Wooden, 9-4 record there. Aussie Diaz, 7-1 record. Danilo Suzat, heavyweight, with a 9-1 record. Haley Cowan, I believe she's a female bantamweight, with a 6-2 record. Erison Fahea, he is making a return. He fought last season. He won a decision over Ki-Lun or Lan-Ki, and he will be fighting again with an 11-1 record in the flyweight division. And now, the last 3 that I will be showing, I believe there's a very good chance that Long Zhao is going to make a return. He lost his Dana White's Contender Series fight, but since then he has bounced back twice over varying levels of competition over in WLF. I think that there's a chance that we see him again. There's a chance again that I think that we see Zifa Shang. I think there's a decent chance we see Zifa Shang. He is 36 years old, but he's very experienced, and I think that he would add a lot to the UFC's roster. And now again, I do think that there is a potential chance that we see Juan Puerta, who actually beat Zifa Shang by a split decision. I think there's a chance that we see him come back again, but let me go over the 10 guaranteed fighters once again. So Stephen Rossig, 8-1, he's got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He's got a few decent wins, and he's been fighting over at Eternal MMA. If you guys don't know, Eternal MMA is Australia's number 1 promotion. It's the number 1 go-to place for MMA, really. They're on UFC Fight Pass. There's some great fights on there. He's also the flyweight champion. He recently defended his bout against Paul Loga on there. There's one loss to Sean Gosey, which has actually kind of aged relatively well, and Dennis Bondar is in the UFC now, and it's an amateur loss from a few years ago. So here's the thing about Stephen Rossig. He's an active fighter. I think the UFC will like to have him on the roster, but he's got to get past Clayton Carpenter. Clayton Carpenter is only 5-0. He's only 25 years old, but he has shown to have some pretty crazy power in the hands, man. He's and feet. Sorry, he knocked out Rodney Keoholi, who was 5-2 at the time, with a head kick 13 seconds into the first round. Won by knee bar 45 seconds into the first round, and won by another head kick 4 minutes 28 seconds into the first round. So this guy's a good first round finisher in the flyweight division. You do not see that often. Junior Cortez, as well, as his only loss on his record in 2016, where he would have been like 19 years old. And Junior Cortez is Tracy Cortez's brother, and fought Dana White's Contender Series last year, but lost. So that's one matchup. We've got Clayton Carpenter versus Stephen Rossig. I'm going to be picking the Australian by submission to win that one. He's just a little bit more experienced. I think he has fought the better competition, although Australia, no disrespect to Australia, but it's a new and it's a growing MMA scene there, so unfortunately there isn't the highest level of competition to be found on the Aussie scene. I think a lot of people would agree with that, to be honest. Kyo Machado, 6-1, and he's going to be fighting Paulo Henato Jr. I literally just broke this fight down 12 hours ago by the time this fight comes out, and he is the BFL champion. His whole career has been taking place in BFL, and he's a champion. I think he's defended the belt twice. and his one loss to Dustin Johnson, which actually has aged pretty well because Dustin Johnson is now 7-1 and he is in ONE FC right now, so he's in a major promotion. And he's on a decent win streak here, a lot of KO wins and a lot of first round finishes. If he doesn't finish the fight in the first round, the fight seems to go the distance. Paulo Henato Jr., similar situation, 7 wins by KO, and yeah, he gets the job done too. He's got a couple of good wins. He's got an 8-1 win on his record, but apart from that, he hasn't been fighting super high level competition, but he's been getting the job done, and he is the IFL champion. He beat Gilson Cardoso, who was 6-14 at the time, to win that bout. Dominic Wooden. Now, this is a guy that I think that a lot of people are going to have their eyes on. I have no doubt that he's going to be main eventing or headlining a card, because Dominic Wooden has got a decent name behind him, and I think that a win on Dana White's Contender Series will definitely catapult him up a little bit, in my opinion. He's fought in Bellator in the past. He didn't really have too much success, but ever since he's come into Cage Warriors, this man has had a great 2021, man. 3 KOs against 3 very good opponents: Carlos Abreu, Nathan Fletcher, and Cameron Hardy. He fights in the bantamweight division, and I believe he's the Cage Warriors bantamweight champion. Aussie Diaz most recently won the LFA middleweight belt by beating Bruno Assis, and he knocked him out in the first round. Most of this guy's wins have come on the inside the distance, and all of them has actually. So 5 wins by KO, 2 by submission. And that's the kind of guy that the UFC wants, man. He's got good wins on his record too. 5-2, 3-0, 9-5, 12 and 5 in his last 4 fights. I can respect that. I think that's quite a respectable record to have. And his one loss, unfortunately, coming 15 seconds into the first round, which is a shame. But I guess, unfortunately, that can happen. Aussie Diaz, good record. He's fighting in the middleweight division. We do need more middleweight prospects. I can respect it. So Danilo Souza, as I've said multiple times, the UFC really does need more heavyweights, and I feel like Danilo Souza would be a good addition to the roster if he does get past his opponent. And once again, this is a guy with power in the hands. He won by KO 24 seconds in the first round against a guy with not the greatest record, and he did knock out a guy within 2 minutes who was making his debut. But this is the problem, man. He just hasn't fought the highest level of competition. I do understand that it's harder to find fights outside of the USA than it is in the USA. I'm pretty sure he's actually the Ares FC champion as well, because Ares FC are the ones that announced the fact that he's signed the Dana White's Contender Series bout. But he's got 6 wins by KO, 3 by decision, and the one loss is by decision there. So yeah, once again a finisher, and I think he'll be a good addition. I mean, we definitely need heavyweights. Hayley Cowan, no disrespect to Hayley Cowan, but I do kind of have my second thoughts about this one here, because she's only on a 1-fight win streak, and unfortunately that last win was to a 2-0 girl, and she most recently lost to a 1-2 girl. So I'm not like full of confidence that Hayley Cowan is going to find a lot of success in the UFC. Unfortunately, the level of competition that she's been fighting, Victoria Leonardo on the other hand, pretty decent level of competition there too, but what I'm trying to say here is, like, she lost to a 1-2 girl. I feel like maybe Dana White's Contender Series could prove me wrong, but at the moment, I'm just not full of a lot of confidence for Hayley Cowan. But I do think she's a very marketable fighter, for sure, if you know what I mean. So if she wins, we'll see what happens. Erison Fahea. Okay, so this guy recently won on Dana White's Contender Series against Lun Ki. He won by decision, and now he's going to get another fight. I feel like if he wins this one, he probably will get a UFC contract. And the reason for that is Dana White, he needs what does he need? He needs flyweights. He does need flyweights. Flyweight division and the heavyweight division both only have about 40 or 50 fighters in them, and the lightweight division is like 70 or 80. So we really do need more flyweights, more heavyweights, and more light heavyweights. So I'm happy to see it. I'm just a little bit confused because his record is 11-1, and what we've got here is 8 wins by KO, 1 by decision. I think it's because we don't know the result of these ones here exactly, but I guess it kind of is what it is. He seems to be a finisher. It seems like he finishes all of his fights inside the distance, especially in the first round against lower level of competition. He did win a decision. It's the first time he's won a decision on his Tapology page. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of what happens going forward. And I do think that if he does get a knockout in his next fight, I don't think that there's much of a doubt that we will be seeing Arsenic Ace in the UFC for sure. Now, moving on, I'm going to tell you right now, these last three are fully speculation. I don't actually know if these three are going to make a return, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Long Zhao. He's only 23 years old and he's got a 20-7 record, which is pretty insane, and he has proven to be able to beat decent levels of competition. I mean, he beat a 7-1 guy, and that's kind of it really, a 5-1 guy as well. Like, this guy was 5-6 at one point. And so that means in his last, he's 15-1 in like his last 16 fights or something like that, which is crazy. He managed to hold his own with Christian Canones, and he made it to the decision. I think Christian Canones actually did win a contract based off that fight. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that if we see a win from Long Zhao, the UFC are really trying to get into the Chinese market. I do think that a win for Long Zhao will get him in there. I mean, they signed Maheshate, who was only 6-1 at the time, but he hasn't fought yet in Dana White's contenders in the UFC. I mean, Zifa Shang, this is my pick. This is my opinion. I like Zifa Shang. I like his fighting style. I think he's fun. I think he would add a lot to the flyweight division. He's got a lot of experience outside of the UFC. And I genuinely do believe personally that this guy would just make sense to have in the UFC. He beat a decent guy in his last fight, and he lost a split decision to Juan Purata, who I'm going to talk about soon. He was also a great prospect. So I mean, I really like Zifa Shang. He's 33-8. That's a really, really good record to have, and I think that he would be a great addition to the UFC. He may be 36 years old, and he may be at the end of his career, but the UFC does need flyweights, man. I feel like Zifa Shang could definitely give a couple of guys in the flyweight division a good test. Juan Purata. Okay, so this guy here, he won by split decision in Dana White's Contender Series. I don't believe he got a contract, and he hasn't fought since. But he might have got a contract, and I might just be really stupid making this video. But I don't think he did get a contract, did he? I probably should have researched this before I made the video. I don't see anything about how he is in the UFC. So maybe he didn't get in the UFC. I don't know. Maybe I'm just stupid. But anyway, I think Young Purata, I think if they give him another shot this year, I think if he gets a win, he'll get in the UFC. He's a great prospect outside of the UFC for sure. He has beaten good competitions, 29-19, 5-1, 14-7, 6-1 as well, 16-17. Like, this guy is 7. I mean, this guy's like beating good levels of competition, and he has kind of proven that he's above, I guess, like a lot of these lower level guys on the regional scene. So I think that we could see Juan Purata. He's 34 years old, but he's a flyweight. The UFC needs flyweights. Just put him in there again. If he gets a win, sign him to the UFC. That's what I want to see. Anyway, so once again, shout out to my my sources, Sean Bitter, MMA Wizard on Twitter, and also MMA Ecosystem. I don't know if you can see that based off my my overlay, but MMA Ecosystem on the Instagram. So yeah, that's it. That's my video. So hey, if you've made it this far, follow me on Instagram. I'm almost at 500 followers, and I'll see you guys in the next one for sure.